Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. The excitement of a new year has passed and life has become real. Coming at you really quick, right? I know for me, some things have happened in just the past few months of the year that have made me feel like I am on the list of God's strongest soldiers once again. And some days have been really rough. I found myself having to snap out of a funk more times than I would have liked to 3 months into the year. As someone who has struggled with depression and anxiety in the past, I am very intentional with not allowing myself to drift too far, because I've learned with time that a bad day can easily turn into a bad year, and that can go as far as feeling like a bad life that's just not worth living. So I've made it a point to always have tools that are straightforward and easy to grab and go when I recognize the symptoms of a depressive episode or a funk trying to get a grip on me. So allow me to paint a picture for you for a second. Before a depressive episode becomes a depressive episode, it starts off with a little indifference. You're not happy, you're not sad, you're just there. And then you just stop enjoying stuff. Nothing excites you, nothing seems to have much meaning. Dreams seem impossible and far-fetched. Joy seems like a hope for the distant future. And with each day, you just want to rot in bed, scroll on your phone, watch TV, and repeat, right? Just kind of stuck in this cycle of just existing. And at times it becomes really difficult to eat. At times you can see your space deteriorating, but you don't have the energy to fix it because you barely have enough energy to fix yourself, to shower, to get dressed, to make an effort. It becomes difficult to pray. You suddenly don't know where to start when it comes to your Bible. And one night of I'll pray in the morning turns into days of I'll try again the next day. Sound familiar? If it does, I'd like to share the 3 steps that I use to get out of this space as quickly as I recognize what's happening. These 3 steps are lay it down and get away, have a praise party, and number 3 is stop consuming and start creating. Let's unpack them. Sometimes the best thing you can do is stop striving and step away for a moment. Just stop. Stop trying to figure it out. Stop trying to do the next thing. Just stop. Lay it down and get away. Step away from the thing that's causing you overwhelm. Go for a walk. Do something different. Go out with a friend. Just lay it down and get away. Because I think sometimes we think that when we're fixating on a thing, that means we care about it. And if we're fixating on a thing, and if we're spending long enough staring at it, worrying about it, then surely a solution will come from there, right? But the truth is, there's often very little that your mind can do from that place. Sometimes you need to just step back so that you can begin to process things from a place of clarity and see things from a place of clarity, and not this like one-dimensional perspective that you have from this place of overwhelm and stress and worry. People often think that overthinking equals problem solving, but usually the more you stare at a problem, the more overwhelming things become. So instead of pushing through that mental exhaustion, step back. The problem will be there when you get back. Matthew 11:28-30 tells us, are you worn out? Are you tired? Burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you learn to live freely and lightly. That's the Message translation. From this, we can clearly hear that God invites us to exchange our heavy burdens for his light yoke, meaning we don't have to carry the weight of our struggles alone. Celebrate God all day, every day. I mean, revel in him. That is Philippians 4:4 in the Message translation. I love praise because you can't praise genuinely and sincerely and still be focused on whatever is burdening you, or be focused on your mood or the thing that got you into this funk to begin with. When you praise, and I say praise intentionally because it is a bit more fast-paced oftentimes, as opposed to worship, which is a bit more calm. And I think when you're calm, it's easy to still in the back of your mind ruminate. You're not busy. You're not preoccupied. A lot of the time you're sitting. A lot of the time you're being still. And during this time of stillness and calmness, you almost get into like a meditative state. And at times when you are in that meditative state, instead of meditating on the goodness of the Lord and his sovereignty and his power and all the amazing things that we could meditate on about the Lord, we run the risk of meditating on our worries, meditating on our feelings. Whereas with praise, Often you are put in a position where you have to move around. You have to dance. Isaiah 61 verse 3 says, to strengthen those crushed by despair who mourn in Zion, to give them a beautiful bouquet in place of ashes, the oil of bliss instead of tears, and the mantle of joyous praise instead of the spirit of heaviness. Because of this, they will be known as mighty oaks of righteousness, planted by Yahweh as a living display of his glory. We were reading the Passion Translation. And then in Acts 16, 25 to 26, we read, Paul and Silas, undaunted, prayed in the middle of the night and sang songs of praise to God, while all the other prisoners listened to their worship. Suddenly, a great earthquake shook the foundations of the prison. All at once, every prison door flung open, and the chains of all the prisoners came loose. Again, we were reading the Passion Translation. And a cool thing that I came across was that research shows that movement and exercise, even as simple as dancing or going for a walk, can actually increase dopamine and serotonin, which are like the feel-good chemicals in the brain. So there's science to this as well. As much as it's in the Bible, there is proof, there is scientific proof that moving your body, praising the Lord, focusing on whatever is good, whatever is lovely, right? Fixing your mind on those things and moving your body can actually have a positive chemical reaction and improve this state of a funk that you find yourself in. Consuming too much content kind of makes you passive, whereas creating makes you active. A lot of the time when you're in a funk, you scroll, you scroll, you scroll, you scroll, and you convince yourself at times that you're doing something. You're doing research because you're scrolling. But the truth is, you're just creating another excuse and relabeling your endless, meaningless scrolling. And you tell yourself you're looking for inspiration. You tell yourself you're looking for encouragement to get out of this funk. But you're just in this endless cycle of scrolling and watching other people doing their thing, watching other people doing the things that you should be doing, watching other people living out their purpose, watching other people being prayerful, watching other people studying the word. And at times, what you think is you looking for inspiration is you finding things that actually beat you down even more. Because you're watching someone pray when you haven't prayed in a long time, because you're watching someone read their word when you haven't read yours in a long time, instead of it serving as encouragement, it then becomes discouraging to you. And it reminds you of your shortcomings and the things that you're kind of failing to do while you're in this funk, while you're in this depressive episode. So it almost works against you as opposed to it helping you and helping you come out of this space. So instead of consuming, trust that you've consumed enough. Trust that you've researched enough. Trust that you've heard enough encouragement and start creating. The creation process starts with something as simple as journaling. It could start with something as simple as coloring in, drawing a picture, baking a tray of muffins, making a hearty meal to nourish your body. It doesn't have to be something that you necessarily start from scratch, and it doesn't have to be a big project. Just create something. Instead of taking things in, pour out. And often it is through the process of that release that we realize how much we've harbored in ideas and solutions for where we are. We realize the things that the Lord has laid on our hearts, but we aren't able to focus on those things because we're so focused on the funk. We're so focused on our feelings. But once you start creating, you kind of make room to receive from the Lord. Once you start creating, you're focused on the creation process and not so much on the funk and the feelings. And at times, that is where the brilliant ideas stem from. When you start creating and you start realizing that, someone could be in this place, could be struggling with this thing, and might need to hear the encouragement that I'm receiving in this moment, then you start creating content. But this can only happen if you stop consuming and you start creating. Because it is from that place of creating that creativity is sort of encouraged. It is from that place of pouring out that more is encouraged to stem from within you, so you can pour out more. And in this moment, I'm reminded of the widow in 2 Kings 4 verse 1 to 7, the widow with the oil. The more she poured, the more the oil kept coming. It was when there were no longer any vessels, any jars, and she therefore had to stop pouring, that the oil ceased. It is the same with pouring out from the wells of the creativity and the ideas and the brilliance and the gifts that the Lord has given us. When we are using those gifts, more ideas can come, more genius can come, more strength. It is the same with prayer. If you're not praying, you don't feel encouraged to pray some more, right? In fact, you just kind of want to sit in that space. It is when you start praying and when you start reading your word that you're encouraged and you're inspired to do it again and again and again. You're reminded, man, it's so good in the presence of the Lord. I want to try again. So remember that creating makes room for more. Let's recap, okay? The 3 steps of getting out of a funk are: number 1, lay it down, step away. Number 2, have a praise party. Number 3, stop consuming and start creating. Remember that getting out of a funk isn't one big breakthrough, okay? It is about small, intentional steps. Being gracious towards yourself without overindulging in rest, without overindulging your feelings, without overindulging this hopelessness. Acknowledge your feelings, make room for your feelings, address your feelings, but don't stay in that place. Small steps accumulate, and before you know it, you'll be out of that place in no time. So please tell me, which of these 3 steps do you feel like you need to implement most right now? Okay, the quarter has, well, one quarter has come to an end, another quarter has begun, and I'd love to hear which of these steps you feel like you need most in the day-to-day right now. I can't wait to hear about it in the comments. I love you. I appreciate you. And I'll see you next week.